The United Nations Security Council will meet on Thursday to discuss Moscow's charges that Ukrainian forces shot down a Russian transport military plane, killing everyone on board. Russia has said Ukrainian prisoners of war were being flown for a prisoner exchange. The BBC verified this video showing the moment of the crash. You can see the aircraft in the distance falling through the sky. The crash took place in Russia's southern Belgorod region, which lies along its border with eastern Ukraine. The Ukrainian authorities said the prisoner exchange was due to take place on Wednesday and that it has now been cancelled. None of the details surrounding those on board can be independently verified. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has demanded an international inquiry into the incident.
Очевидно, що росіяни граються із життям.
It is obvious that the Russians are playing with the lives of Ukrainian prisoners, with the feelings of their relatives, and with the emotions of our society. We need to establish all the clear facts as much as possible, given that the downing of the plane occurred on Russian territory, which is beyond our control.
Well, Russia says its radars detected the launch of 2 Ukrainian missiles before the crash. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov was the one who called an emergency meeting to be held immediately.
Ukrainian prisoners of war were transported to the Belgorod region for the next exchange agreed upon between Moscow and Kyiv. Instead of this exchange taking place, the Ukrainian side from the Kyiv region launched an anti-aircraft missile attack on this plane, which became fatal.
Well, let's go live now to our Russia editor, Steve Rosenberg, who joins us this morning from Moscow. Hello to you, Steve. There's been some reaction, haven't there, just in the last few minutes from the Kremlin. Can you just outline what's being said?
Yeah, the last few moments, Dmitry Peskov, Vladimir Putin's spokesman, has made some comments about what happened yesterday. He has called this a monstrous action by Ukraine. He has also supported the idea of an international investigation, but into the, as he puts it, the criminal activities of the Kyiv regime. And he was asked about whether prisoner exchanges between Russia and Ukraine would continue after this. He said he didn't know how this would affect future prisoner swaps. Those comments coming in the last few minutes from the Kremlin.
Steve, clearly lots of questions to be answered about this incident yesterday. Can you tell us what we know? Clearly the key questions are who shot the plane down and who was on board.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of questions. What we know is that this military transport plane, this Ilyushin 76, crashed, right, in a field in southern Russia. We cannot confirm who or what made the plane crash and who was on board. Now, the Russians say that on board were 74 people, including 65 Ukrainian prisoners of war, who Moscow says were on their way to take part in a prisoner swap. And Russia has been clear. It says that Ukraine shot the plane down. Ukraine has not confirmed that. It hasn't denied it either. We heard comments there from President Zelensky, who has called for an international investigation and has accused the Kremlin of playing with the lives of Ukrainian POWs. Ukraine has confirmed that there was going to be a prisoner exchange yesterday, which didn't happen. Interestingly, yesterday the Ukrainian General Staff and military intelligence issued statements, carefully worded statements, which when you read them appear to be an acknowledgement that Ukraine may have shot down the plane, although they don't say that directly and they don't talk about who was on board the plane. But for example, those statements include the suggestion that these military transport planes, like the one that crashed, were legitimate targets because they'd been delivering weapons which were being used to attack Ukraine. But as I say, the position of Moscow is that Ukraine brought the plane down and an investigation, an international investigation is needed into the actions of Ukraine.
And interesting that Russia, the Kremlin, is saying that they are also saying they want an international investigation. But of course, this did happen over Russian territory. So what is the likelihood of there being a sort of neutral international investigation, if you like, and sort of getting to the bottom of this?
Not very likely, I wouldn't have thought. But I think an important point to make here is, we're hearing lots of dramatic language from Russia. I talked about Mr. Peskov's comments about monstrous action. We've heard Russian officials talking about terrorist attack, Ukraine showing its true face. It's clear that what Moscow is trying to do is using what happened yesterday, whatever happened yesterday, to try to discredit Ukraine and portray Ukraine as the aggressor in this war. But we have to keep in mind that nearly 2 years ago, it was the Kremlin that launched this so-called special military operation and its full-scale invasion of Ukraine.